You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show.
Hey guys.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Miss Candace?
I am good. I'm actually feeling pretty proud of myself, because I'm not even in the studio tonight and we're still making it happen.
Not even. The Breezy Moms podcast is coming to you mobile and live.
Yes, live and mobile from the Breezy Mom basement.
No, we've been, there's been a lot of stuff happening, right? And we've been really trying to sort of kind of figure out and pinpoint a date where we can come in and record these episodes because of what's been going on.
I love it, but it is life, and it's part of being breezy, right? It's part of having a setup and then trying to figure out how to work around it. And I sort of personally have realized just how much I love doing the show and spending time with you and on air talking with people about whatever it is that we're talking about. Because last week when we couldn't do it, I was itching. I was feeling antsy.
So, and I miss you too, if that's what you were trying to say.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. You see how New Yorkers are in their
they swim around the whole meaning,
the
right?
Whole
before
thing. We can't be we could be direct when we're being rude, but we can't be lovey direct.
Oh, Lord have mercy. No, but you know what? Swimming is good. As long as you make it to the other end and you're alive and breathing, I guess all is well, right?
Yes, that's true. So yes, I did miss you last week, and I did still have a conversation last week. Actually, we did a Breezy Mom via Instagram Live, or is that what it's called? IG Live?
Mm-hmm.
With
I didn't see it.
Well, so here's the thing, is that when you don't know what you're doing, who knows what, it's in the internet somewhere.
Well,
and
I saw you prepping for it on Facebook. Yep. That was hysterical. I was like, she's a mess.
I am
but I love mess. Her.
So I was prepping. I tried to prep ahead of time, but I think that Facebook forgets, or the internets forget, that not everybody is on their cell phone all the time. Some of us have old school laptops still. Mm-hmm. And so all this swipe left business was just not working on my laptop. And so it was a real senior millennial moment that I had.
Well, I'm glad you got through it though. I'm glad you got through it. So, yes, last week we couldn't. Last week we couldn't record an episode because, my grandmother ended up getting very ill, and she ended up in the hospital, and we thought we were going to lose her. So I've had to fly mom up on the fly. And so, and family was here. And so I had called, I reached out to Candace and I said, hey, Candace, I don't think we're going to be able to do Thursday. And she was fine. She's very supportive and stuff. But I have good news. Grandma went home today.
Yes.
And so she's home. And mom is happy and everyone's happy.
Good. I'm so glad. It's so scary, but I'm so glad that she's doing okay.
Yeah. And so that's the reason why we weren't able to do a show last week. And then this week, I had a cousin that passed away, and a very close friend of the family lost her son, who was 24 years old. And so, we've been going through it.
Yeah. I mean, it's life. It's definitely life. So I'm happy to be flexible, and, the internet will always be there, and people will always be here. So I'm happy to be here for you in whatever way that I can.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. And I'm glad that things are going well, better.
I'm happy
that your grandmother's better and that you're doing
all
right.
She's in her mid-90s. So, the woman has lived a very long, fulfilled life with 16 kids. That's like a football team.
Oh my God.
She's done it. She did it right.
Yeah, and it must be hard at this time. Actually, I don't know, and nobody in my family is that seasoned
or
that
advanced
old.
Yet, right?
And so there must be an interesting thing where you're obviously you want her to keep on keeping on, but there gets to be a point where you're expecting the final day to come, but you still don't want it. It's still a surprise. You still don't want it to happen.
Like you prepare yourself for the eventuality of her passing, right? Because we know it's going to happen. And I was having this conversation, this is probably something that maybe someone can take from, you need to be prepared, and your family needs to have that conversation with your loved ones. And I started the conversation with my mother and my aunt and my other aunt. We were all together, and a cousin of mine. And I said, you guys, there's 11 of you left. That's a lot of people. And that we're not going to have her much longer. She's already going through it. She's been in and out of the hospital over the past year quite often. And I said, you need to, first of all, find someone who's responsible, right? Pick someone, have a meeting, and open a bank account and start saving money and getting prepared, because, Grandma has lived off her little Social Security check pretty much, most of her life in Puerto Rico on the island. And after Hurricane Maria, we were like, you can't stay there by yourself. And so there's not much that she has, but she has children. And you guys are going to need to, one, figure out what her final,
wants are,
expenses, and what she wants, where you're going to bury her, and start saving for that, because those expenses can add up. I mean, the average funeral can go anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000, depending on how extravagant, they are. And especially if you have to fly a loved one back home to their homeland, right? Which is where she wants to bury. She wants to be buried there.
Yeah, that's very expensive. Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, we had Ellen on the show a couple weeks ago, and whenever you try to have these conversations, these preparation conversations and preparations for end of life, people think that it's morbid and they don't want to have the conversation. But it's worse to be trying to make those decisions in the middle of grief.
That's right. And while you're in distress.
It's worth it. It's worth the time. But I think people, I don't know, I know a lot of people of color, right? And I feel like a lot of the people that I know are really afraid to talk about this stuff, and they think that you're like pushing them into the grave. I'm going, I'm not, that's not what I'm doing. It's going to be very hard for us to make these kinds of decisions once we're deep in grief. So if you're here and you have something you like, some input, you might as well take advantage of that time now.
Absolutely.
And then we put away some money, even if it's a long way out, you put away a few dollars here and there, because, so many Americans, some like ridiculously high percentage, you're like a step away from bankruptcy or financial hardship when something like an illness or a death comes up. Like, those things come and they can damn near break a family. So
absolutely,
in the middle of already being hurt because someone has passed, you then have this financial burden that makes things that much harder. And a lot of times people go into some serious debt because grief makes you do silly things. And then you make these big, bogus plans for a funeral or whatever that you can't actually afford, but you don't have the clarity of mind to work it out, right? To make those like good decisions because you didn't think about it beforehand.
And the other thing too is, like, for example, she was born and lived most of her life in Puerto Rico. So we know that we're going to have to not only do a service here, right, for everyone that's here, but we're also going to have to do a service in Puerto Rico there as well. And so, it really becomes very
double.
It's a double whammy. And I'm just like, listen, guys, I know that it's very hard to talk about this, but you guys need to plan this. You have, when you think about, my grandmother had 16 kids. She has 107 grandchildren. I have 100. I make 107, right? Like total. I have 106 first cousins.
Wow. That's insane.
That's a insane. Massive family, right? And so when you think about the services that you have to prepare for, not including their children and their children's children that have already had kids, it's a lot. And, you're going to need a very big venue to throw, the kind of services that she deserves. And if you're not planning for it, it's not going to happen when you're in the middle of grief, as you said.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough. But kudos to you for bringing it up with the family. And you're just going to it sounds like you're just going to have to keep driving it to make sure that it actually happens.
Absolutely. And I was having this conversation with my mother and my aunts, as I mentioned before, and immediately the waterworks start, right? Because they can't see the parent leaving and dying. And I said, Mom, but you've had her for a very long time. You lived in Puerto Rico,
lucky.
right?
So lucky.
My mother actually went to Puerto Rico to live there to take care of her mother. And she did that for 25 years while we stayed here in the U.S. and sort of kind of, went on with our lives. She was there at the forefront taking care of her mother. So, she's going to feel it. And I said, but you're going to feel good if you guys prepare. You're going to be able to give her a send-off that's worthy of someone who's been on this earth 95 years.
90 years. Yeah, that's incredible. So, that is incredible. Well,
so anyway, we didn't want to make it about morbidity, right? But sometimes you just have to mention it. So what do you have?
Say that again?
Talk to me. What do you have?
So I guess, so we said that the show is coming live as like satellite. I'm not there in studio. And this is like a moment that I'm having the last couple of weeks, realizing how much I enjoy doing the show and how I'm like willing to do just about anything to make sure that we get an episode out. And I thought that we weren't going to do it because I thought maybe you would be tied up with family. And so let James make some arrangements for tonight that normally he wouldn't have made because I would have been recording. And then when you said you could do it, I was like, oh no, right? So I had to put our evening on like hyperdrive. And I thought that maybe I would be able to plant the kids in front of a Christmas movie and then do the show and then go back upstairs to put them to sleep. But Emery came down with something pretty quickly today. He's just really not feeling well and, a runny nose and a cough and whatnot. And so as I was looking at him at dinner time, I realized that he wasn't going to make it if I left him awake.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure out how I could get him to sleep, which is usually, I don't know if you know, it's usually like an all night situation. It's pretty hard to get them to go down. And, but I was on a mission, and so we went upstairs with some lullaby music and some cough medicine, and
he took my advice, Benadryl.
I did. I mean, he has to have it anyway, right? He has a legit cold. It's not like
I know.
It's not just like doping him, but I gave him some medicine and really sort of sat and set the scene to make sure that he could get to sleep, and made a deal with Lincoln that if he helped me get Emery to sleep, then he could come back downstairs and watch a show while I recorded. So he is currently upstairs watching, he's into Abby Hatcher right now. So he's watching that on Nick Jr. And I'm totally cool with it because I can sort of hear him. The baby's upstairs and we've got a thing going. So, when
free range parenting.
I mean, when you really want to do something, you figure out a way to make it happen.
Of course.
So, I mean, I'm actually pretty proud of myself because, was it 7:48? And they're both in pajamas. Emery's already asleep. Lincoln's ready for bed. As soon as I go upstairs, I can just put him to sleep. So I feel like I'm Mom So Hard / winning right now.
That's awesome.
Doing pretty well. And then James is out, like, being a grown-up. I think he's got a happy hour with some friends. And I didn't want to, at the last minute, guilt him into not going so that I could record. So we're all like, teamwork makes the dream work.
I think I was supposed to be a part of that happy hour.
Really? Oh,
yeah, because I think it was a work thing. One of our senior VPs actually retires. And so they're throwing a kumbaya get together for like all of his friends that he's had for the company. I think that's today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah, today's Wednesday.
Yeah, so it was today, and but I'm home. I'm prepping for a job that I have tomorrow. So getting all my DJ equipment ready and all that stuff. So which I have to go pick up.
Yeah, so most of it. It's going well. The day's going all right. The week, I'm just trying to get through this week. I have a nice, long, maybe about a week and a half vacation coming up. And so I've got one more day to get through. And then Christmas break, holiday break starts for me on Friday.
Nice.
So I'm super excited. Go ahead.
So the holidays are upon us. Yep. And Christmas is next week. New Year's the week after that. Yep. What are you doing to prep yourself for the holidays?
Every year I say I'm going to prep, and every year it's like days before and I'm still trying to figure out my life. But because I took like a good amount of time off, I'm just hoping to get everything done in that time frame. I really didn't spend a ton of time prepping beforehand. And, maybe one day I'll get there, but like prepping for Christmas in November is not for everyone.
No, it's not easy.
Some people have like really cool bullet journals or really cool happy journals or whatever kind of like process people have to really sort of write down and make everything work. And I have so many journals and planners and things that I think I want to be that person, but they're all empty. So I am just trying to do what I can manage, which is get through the work week. We have family coming this weekend, so we are celebrating Christmas on Saturday and Sunday with family because we actually decided to take a small, just the four of us, a nuclear family trip on Christmas Eve for a couple days to Great Wolf Lodge. Have you ever heard of Great Wolf Lodge?
I've heard about it. Is this the one with the water park in it?
Yeah, it's a water park, an indoor water park. So the whole family is going to Los Angeles, and this year I just really didn't feel up to it. And mostly it was because I really wanted to feel like I had a break. And sometimes with such a big trip like that, there's so much that goes into traveling and prep for it and day of traveling and all of that jazz that you come back and you need more time to recover from that. So I nixed the whole like traveling far away thing. And I think James is super into it because he's totally excited. I suggested the lodge to him and I thought he would poo-poo it really fast, but he's super excited. And
that's awesome though.
Yeah. So it's only 2 hours away from our house. We'll go on Monday, Christmas Eve. We'll spend 2 nights there and come back and we'll still have time to sort of relax around the house. Maybe we'll get to do another day trip somewhere, but, it's our first year really just as a foursome, like spending the holiday, just the four of us. And I'm super excited about it.
That's
not that I don't love my family. I just really feel like it'll actually feel like a vacation.
But let's explore this a little bit, right? Like you have to really clarify. It's not that I don't love my family, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you shouldn't feel guilty for making plans for you and your nuclear family, right? Your immediate family, and looking out for yourself. A lot of people will literally do one of two things: either drive themselves to a stressful point or drive themselves to debt to sort of kind of get through what the perceived view is of how someone's holiday should be. And I think that everyone really needs to reassess and assess and say, can I do this? If this is not going to work out, we need to do what's best for our family, right? And that doesn't mean that you don't love your family or that you won't miss them, but there's always other opportunities too to get together throughout the year. And it's always better when you do it in the summertime anyway.
It's so true. And we just had a pretty big Thanksgiving. So we spent a good amount of time with family at Thanksgiving. And again, we're not going to have a ton of James's family around, but we've worked out for a few people to come. And again, another small group. It was supposed to be James's brother and my sister and mom, but I think some people might not be coming. But the point is, again, it's not like I didn't want to have 20 people over at our house and we have to figure out what to cook and meal plan. And, I didn't want to have to do all of that for this break. I really wanted to feel like I was on break, and having 5 or 6 additional people at our house is not a big deal at all. So I'm really super excited about it. And definitely it was totally a recognizing, I guess it's kind of like self-care, right? You recognize that if I do this thing that I think I want to do, I'm going to be burnt out when I come back, and I'm not going to get this week and a half vacation. It's not going to come again really soon. I'll be waiting for it again until maybe the summer, possibly next Christmas. And I would like to really enjoy this time. So like you said, it's definitely not that I don't love my family and that I don't love spending time with them. It's just working out really well. And it's a bit of it's definitely super exciting to feel like we're going to go out, just the four of us, and we're having an experience. Because the flip side of that is I didn't want to skip the big trip with the family and then just sort of mill around and the days just sort of like, fold into each other and you don't really have a plan and you wake up late and you do a bunch of laundry and then the week is over and you haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
So those are the two extremes that I was trying to find a middle ground.
Well, and I think you'll do fine. And I think that taking that nice little, 2-day hiatus is going to really do good for the family. And the boys are they're going to so enjoy, the Wolf Lounge, because it is a great facility.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And of course, James has done all the research, has watched like 1,000 videos and has like a packing list and all kinds of things.
Of course he did.
Still quite a bit of preparation and research that went into getting us to this point. And it cost a pretty penny, but way less than going to California and definitely more manageable for us.
Yeah, they have for
both of us.
They have a lot of amenities there. So there's so much to do. So you've got the water park. They certainly have a lot of different activities that the children can get into. Really good restaurants, and they have a good variety of options when it comes to food.
Have you been there? You sound like you've been there.
I have. I've been with my nephews and my nieces. When we used to take like day trips, we used to go up for 5-6 hours, hang out, eat.
I didn't know that.
Drive down, yeah.
Wow, you were just full of surprises.
You just never know.
Never know.
That's
a good point that you can just go for the day. You don't have to spend the night.
Yeah. It's like,
it didn't even occur to me.
Take it like a day trip, Saturday day trip. You leave in the morning. You usually, if you leave around 9, you'll get there around 11. You stick around until maybe 5 p.m., maybe have dinner, drive down, and you feel like you've actually gone away and did something.
Yeah, that's just like Six Flags, right? Yeah. It's just like going to any of those water parks, except you get to do it in the winter because it's inside.
And it's indoors.
So I'm super, super, super excited for it.
Yeah, I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah, so it would be interesting if people are listening and are doing I feel like it's kind of like an off-the-cuff or sort of a non-traditional holiday experience. If anyone else is doing something like that, please let us know. We're on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at the Breezy Moms Podcast and just let us know what you are up to this season.
Absolutely.
It'd be cool this holiday season, the holiday week. And I guess this is also if you have the time, because some people don't have. I think my mom is working Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas.
Is she in healthcare?
Excuse me?
Is she in healthcare?
No. Well, yes, actually she is. She does trainings for people in healthcare, but I think that her team, some people took the time at Thanksgiving and other, people have to be in the office. Everybody can't be out at the same time.
Yeah.
So she got her time at Thanksgiving, which means someone else is getting their time at Christmas. So she's got to be in the office.
That's cool. That works.
And speaking sort of for me personally, I'm taking off from Friday the 21st until I open again on Wednesday the 2nd. And it feels like a pretty good vacation that I've given myself. And I was just thinking about it, it's daycare, it's a service industry, and I've been in some groups where people are feeling guilty about taking time off or don't take any time off. They're open Christmas Eve until 4:00 and then they open again the day after Christmas. They're not taking any time. And it's a very interesting conversation that I've been watching about whether you should feel guilty about taking this time or if you should take the time. And I've just been thinking a lot lately that I have taken the step to open my own business, and part of that should be being able to recognize my needs and making sure that those are met within a reasonable set of parameters, given that it is a service industry.
Yeah,
but seriously, if I'm not going to give myself the time, who's going to give it to me? But
if you were to go and work for someone else in another company, depending on the company, part of those, those perks is accruing vacation time, and knowing that you have a set amount of time that you can work with every year to be able to do things like going away for a long weekend or taking a week off, because that rest period really is needed. needed. It sort of kind of lets you have like a hard reset, right? Before you come back. And so when you're in the service industry, specifically childcare, as a childcare provider, you should think of yourself, you are a business. And as such, you should also allow for a reset time, right? Because dealing with kids is not easy.
It's not easy at all.
It's not like you're going to the office and you have to deal with adults, which sometimes can be worse than kids. But at least,
true.
You're sitting at your desk and you know what your expectations are. When you're dealing with children at home and you have your home business,
you can't tune them out.
No.
I remember working in an office and you can tune out people that you don't, or you can go hide in the bathroom for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or, you can like figure out a way to get away for a few minutes. In childcare, in your house, literally, I go to the bathroom with an audience.
Yeah,
there's no
to bribe
downtime.
them to sort of kind of stay down. So I admire the fact that you took it upon yourself to know that your time is valuable and your reset time is just as equally valuable because you also have kids. And your kids can't grow up seeing mom work every day with no day off and not really creating value.
And be terrible to them because I'm fried.
Yeah. So it's important. Give yourself that break. If you can, as a business, incorporate that into your model, I think it'll go far and you'll do an amazing thing. You won't burn yourself out and you'll find yourself being happy in the role that you play for the kids that you take care of.
And I think extending to moms who are listening and parents who are listening, it's also important for you to take time. We talk a lot about self-care in various different ways and finding ways to make sure that the holiday season, which can be super stressful for everybody involved, making sure that you get a little bit of time for yourself, whatever that looks like. For me, that's saving time traveling across country and like being on the road trying to get to airports and all kind of crazy stuff. Like, this is really self-care for me, bypassing all of that stuff. Even though I really wish I could see my sister-in-law's baby, our nephew who lives in California. I really wish we could see him, but I'm sure we'll see him again next year. So, it's little sacrifices that you make to make sure that you can be good for the people you're around and for your work, right?
And for yourself.
For yourself, for the people you're around, and for your work. So we can't say it enough. I can't say it enough to make sure that you are paying attention to your own needs as an individual, especially if you're a parent or if you're a caregiver. Like in this case, I think you, Tommy, are like a caregiver and like take care of the people that are around you and push the people that are around you, especially given the conversation you said you had earlier with your mom and your aunts. It's a burden, and I don't say burden like you don't. It's a burden that we take on gladly, but it's still a burden. And the weight of the holidays and like all of those fuzzy, warm feelings that people feel, they don't come out of nowhere. They're not just like, they're not definite. They're not, they are expected by everybody who's involved. Everybody expects to feel warm and cozy and like super loved and lovey-dovey, but there's somebody who takes on the burden of making sure that all of that stuff is happening. Somebody makes sure all the food is cooked. Somebody makes sure the setting is right and the activities are set and the house smells good and the house is clean. Somebody is there, and typically that's mom, but it might be dad, it might be grandma, it might be grandpa, it might be cousin, uncle, somebody, but somebody is taking on like those things, that warm, cozy feeling that you feel during the holidays doesn't come out of nowhere. Somebody is taking that on. And I think it's important that we recognize who that person is and make sure that they get a break. Well, make sure that they are equally loved on during that time.
For me, I acknowledge the fact that sometimes I sort of kind of take on those roles and do what I need to do and say, hey, listen, these are hard truths. And there's nothing worse than having to have a conversation with someone that you know is going to make them cry, but nonetheless, you still have to have it. Like, when I started talking about my grandmother's impending death, the immediate reaction of my mother is like almost sobbing like she's already gone, and my aunt's watching my mother cry, then she starts crying and, and I said, it's a hard thing to do, but, it has to be done. I am very fortunate that, I'm also the type of person that I say, listen, That's way too much. That's your problem. You got to deal with it. And I check out. I don't have a problem with checking out when I need to, you know, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens out there, I come back to my own home, to my own sanctuary, right? This is my place of reflection, of where I can come home and do whatever I want. And typically, I shut everybody out. The phone is out. Phone calls don't get answered. Nope, I'm done.
It's important, and sometimes you have to do it. And I want to take just a quick second, because I realize that in general, as usual, we just launch into our conversation. And so I just want to take this minute to say that this week, my intention for the show was to talk a little bit about the upcoming holiday season and how to make sure that you are you're reducing stress and taking care of yourself while you take care of other people. Because typically I feel like the people who are listening to this show are caregivers, whatever that looks like, whether you're a parent or an aunt or uncle or a cousin or somebody, they're caregivers. And I want to make sure that that you know that it's okay to take care of yourself during this time when you're expected to and you want to take care of the people around you.
It's important, and of course, doing a lot of activities that are fun and that get your senses going are really, really good for the soul, right? Like baking pies and cooking delicious food that smells amazing. That's why they say, like, for example, chocolate, cinnamon. These are all like really good smells, right? They put like
it's really good.
It's they put all the good feelings, like you say. It just warms your heart and your soul. So try to do some things that involve, certain spices that awaken a sense in you that really just get you in that mood, And then, of course, try to surround yourself with positive people that will influence your mood throughout the season, and just be mindful of what you...
In a good way.
Yeah.
I just saw a meme. I think they're all called memes. I saw a meme that said, I hope that the time with your family this holiday season doesn't undo all the progress you made with your therapist.
That's true. I mean, because again, when you think about self-care and what your goal is, right? Your goal is to be in a state of mind that you be proud of yourself, be happy with yourself, and be happy around others and make them happy. In the end, that's our goal. When you think about the dynamics of getting together with people that you don't see year round in a room, and there may be some underlying issues from years past, and you really haven't had an opportunity to sort of kind of hash that out, and then you all get in a room and it becomes really awkward, those feelings can really eat up at your...
Right, and forget politics, right? Like, now we're adding a layer of politics on top of it, but it can be pretty tough. I think I will go and I will say that I'm pretty lucky. Our family is fairly small, and we spend holidays together. We don't have, I mean, it ends up being like, I don't know, 15 people, but it's still mostly our nuclear family, and it's my family with James's family, which gets us about 15, maybe 20 on a like grand scale, but they're not a lot of, like, we don't have a lot of extended cousins and like
we do
people that we really don't see that often. The people who come to holiday events for us are typically people we just saw 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, no,
but I do know that some people do have these big holiday feasts at grandma's house with like 25 people, and you really don't see them that often at all. And that's when so-and-so's talking about so-and-so's outfit, or so-and-so's divorce, or
they're in the corner over there. Do you see that one? Or the other one's getting drunk in the other room, and then they can't walk by the end of the night.
Or someone's kid is misbehaving and everybody is talking trash instead of helping. Like, it's just...
No, I was the one that would walk into the bar and be like, listen, if you don't sit up and sit down and behave yourself, I'm going to do very naughty things.
Right. But I mean, in that situation, not that my kids are naughty, but just thinking about a parent, right? I often, not going to lie, when I'm in a situation with extended family, I feel like you haven't seen these kids in a long time. You should spend a little bit of time with them. Every cry and scratch and bump they get, I shouldn't. I used to think, why am there are 15 people in my house right now. Why am I holding this baby? Like, I have to hold him every day, all day. There are 15 adults in here. Why am I holding this baby when I just gave birth to him 6 weeks ago?
Well,
like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I invited you all here so you could take turns holding this baby so I wouldn't have to hold him. Like, that is the whole purpose of you being here.
Well, I mean, oh, okay.
So I'm just saying, in some of those situations, right, I feel like parents, especially of young kids, are trying to get a minute. And if you love this baby, you take a fucking turn. Okay? You take a turn.
See, if I were in that situation and where someone's coming at me with the baby, I'd be like, no, girl.
Yeah, okay, then you don't get invited next time. Right. I'm only inviting people who want to hold babies.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I guess I'm never going over to Candace's house again. Well, I don't have to hold your babies.
I don't have any babies coming,
your babies
so
actually walk on their own.
No. Let's not put that out into the streets. No, I'm not having any more babies.
So let me ask you. Did you put up a tree for Christmas?
I did, and I just realized that I didn't take, like, people take pictures and like, oh, holiday season, the tree's up, blah blah blah. I totally forgot, but I put up my tree Thanksgiving weekend.
Well, that's typically when most people do it, right? Like right after they take that weekend.
Typically it's the first weekend of December, which is a whole week after Thanksgiving. No, and Thanksgiving was early this year. It was almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, most of my friends usually use the weekend of Thanksgiving to start putting up their tree because they're already off. Right.
So they go out shopping. Done it then. I usually do it the first weekend in December. But I thought we were going to California, and I figured that we should have. I did it Thanksgiving because I thought we should have at least a couple weeks getting to see the tree since we wouldn't actually be home for Christmas.
So is it a real tree or is it prefab?
No, it's an artificial tree that I've had for maybe 4 years. And the conversation about like green, not green, but like the, how do you say it? Whether the artificial tree or the green or the real tree is better, like better for the environment. And so people are now saying, I feel like when I bought the tree, people said, stop cutting down real trees and get an artificial tree. And all of a sudden now they're like, oh no, the carbon footprint of the factories that make the artificial tree is worse than the real trees. I mean, it's just, you can't keep up. But I've decided now is that I have an artificial tree. I've been using it for 5 years. And so that must be better. I'm not going to throw it away now.
Deforestation is a serious issue, right? And, a lot of people need to realize that trees, regardless of what they are, whether they're a pine tree or a Christmas tree or exactly, those help clean our air and make sure that we have breathable oxygen on a daily basis. And having an artificial tree for me saves you the aggravation of having to pick up all those goddamn pine needles. Because it is not pretty. And not only that, I had a friend of mine who bought a real tree, put it up, and the following week, she had to literally hire an exterminator because there was bugs all over her house. And these are real things. Yeah, these are things that happen. And spiders and you know me and spiders. I see one and I'm running for the hills.
They're the thing of my nightmares.
So, there are people that absolutely swear by real trees. And listen, if you can manage to keep that tree alive after you chopped it down without burning the house down, go for it. But it's also safer when you have an artificial tree because they're less prone to actually catch on fire.
That's a good point. I mean, mine is shedding every year. Mine sheds. I see the little plastic pines on the floor. But it's a good point about making sure that your tree is not dry so that you don't catch your house on fire.
Of course.
Which is hard enough for me. I can barely keep a plant alive, let alone a whole tree.
So let me ask you another question. So you have a tree up, you're going away, you're going to be away for Christmas, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we're coming back the day after Christmas.
So if you were home, is there anything that you typically do traditionally between you and your family?
Yeah, so that's a big thing that I've been thinking about. Like, I sometimes feel like we don't have any traditions. And then if I'm fair and honest, we do have some, but they're not, I don't know. I've been thinking about it and trying to figure out what kinds of traditions I would like to keep up with that are, sort of American culture, Santa, that sort of thing. and other things that I just want to make, a dormant tradition. Our family, this is what we do. And thankfully, my kids are still pretty young. So even though Lincoln is 4 now and Emery's 2, I feel like I still have a little bit of time to figure out what I want our holiday traditions to look like. But what I have started, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, is I have a 4-gift limit for them. And I follow it's 4 gifts: something you want, something you need, something to wear, and something to read. Right. So that's what I did last year. And it's what I plan on doing again this year. And then because we're going away for actual Christmas, and we're spending like family Christmas the weekend before, so that we'll open a few gifts then, and we'll have family Christmas dinner on Saturday and do the whole like Christmas thing a few days early, so that we can do it with the people who are coming to visit the house, to visit us before the holiday. So I guess the tradition that we have is that we often are together and we have a big dinner and that sort of thing. And then typically on Christmas Eve, you open one gift, and then Christmas morning, you open the other gifts. Because we're traveling, I am planning to let them open maybe 2 gifts, because I'm sure like 2 or 3 gifts, whatever people who are visiting us for the weekend bring, I'll let them open that for the weekend. And then I'm planning to take a couple of things with us to the lodge, so that they can open things again the night before and then on Christmas Day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the plan right now. I just saw some moms talking about, and apparently there's a big Christmas, a Pinterest thing about having a Christmas Eve box. And it's really fancy, and people like painting and stenciling and doing all kinds of things. And I was just like, is this a new thing? I've never heard of this Christmas Eve box situation before, but it's a very cool idea. It's basically what I said before, which is Christmas Eve, you get to open one present, except it's presented in this cool Pinterest way, which is a box of some sort or a bag of some sort. And you have in there, I think what I will put in there, because I'm planning to try it this year, is to put some, the pajamas. I'm going to buy pajamas for Christmas, and maybe some hot chocolate sort of stuff. I'm also going to do some popcorn and a movie, so that we can do like a little movie night on Christmas Eve, since we'll be in the hotel, and then go to sleep and wake up in the morning and have Christmas.
That's awesome.
So that's how I'm going to manage the Christmas Eve. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be a box or a bag, because it's several days away, right? Yeah. It's like, I don't know how many days away is Christmas?
Well, today is 7? Wednesday, so literally not even.
6 days. Even. It's like 6 days away.
Because Christmas Eve is Monday evening.
So true. So, it comes around so fast. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was just listening to someone say that Christmas was 8 weeks away.
Back up
and
a little bit.
And all of a sudden... Oh, sorry. And all of a sudden now it's 6 days away. So the time is going, and I'm just going to like figure it out as I go with it. Again, thankfully my kids are little. Unfortunately, it's very hard to keep Santa out of your house if that's your plan. I don't know how people do it who like don't want, like, I don't know how Jehovah's Witness keep their kids from knowing about Christmas, or like what kind of conversations they have with their kids since they don't celebrate those things. But all the things I think I'm getting away with not teaching them, they come back from school and they know all of the things. Mm-hmm. So my kids know about Santa, and I'm going to let Santa bring them one thing. I did read on, I think it was Scary Mommy posted scarymommy.com. It's like a parenting website. And they post an article probably every year that talks about making sure that kids, I'm stumbling, but the point is that Santa is a universal, at least here, most places, is a universal idea. Everybody knows Santa brings you gifts, right? Whether you believe it or not, or you follow it or not, that's the story. But some kids, like, Santa brings them an iPad, and other kids, Santa brings them some socks or like a book, or some kids get a whole bicycle, and other kids get like one little something toy that they like can recognize the differences. And so this idea of you know, the next week you go to school and and kids are like, oh, what did Santa bring you? And kids find out that one kid got an iPad and they only got a book. It makes kids think that Santa doesn't care about them, and it makes kids not realize that parents work really hard to afford them like whatever the gift is or the experience or the whatever.
Yeah.
And it gives all the credit. And I hate to say it that way because like I'm not trying to get credit, but it gives all the credit to Santa and none of it to parents, right? Which like we are the ones out here working super hard to make sure that you get whatever, whether it's a book or an iPad. Like we're out here trying to make sure that you have a good time, and it all goes to Santa. So this article was talking about how maybe you talk to your kids about Santa brings you something like a book or pajamas or something reasonable, and save the big extravagant gifts. Because I'm not saying that you shouldn't give your kid something fancy if you can, but save those things to come from parents or grandparents or whoever, so that Santa can kind of be like a universal dude who gives everybody kind of like an even valued gift.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. I mean, you have to
like don't ruin Santa for other kids.
Yeah, it has to be realistic. You know, there has to be some sort of realism behind the message that you're going to be sending to the child, because eventually they're going to grow up and be like, you know, well, you know, you do realize Santa is really not real, right? And so,
yeah, but I think it's beyond that. Is just this idea that when they get back to school in January, some kid, and my kid is 4, but let's talk about 10-year-olds, right? Some kid is going to say that Santa brought him an iPad, and some other kid is going to say Santa brought them a book. And then you get into like making fun of, and how come Santa brought Johnny an iPad but only brought me a book? Like, am I a bad kid? Did I do something bad this year? Was I not good enough? Does Santa know where we live? Like, why would Santa treat me this way? If he's handing out iPads down the street, how come he didn't bring an iPad to our house?
What's wrong with me?
Exactly. What's wrong with me? And that's a whole like another level of stuff that we don't need to have to deal with as parents. Like, you have to deal with enough. Like, you don't have to add that sort of stress onto yourself.
Seriously. I mean, you know, it's very hard, right, to manage all the expectations of the holidays and all the things that surround that. And I think that, you know, for me, I knew that, you know, at a very young age, Santa wasn't bringing me anything. I saw Mom buy it, you know? And for me, it's like I had this infatuation when I was younger with G.I. Joe. And I always loved the Cobra plane. Right. And it was like this little like stealth jet that was like probably, I would say 2 feet long. And I would play with that thing forever. I mean, can you imagine a gay boy playing with G.I. Joes? Well, actually, yeah, I can. But so I would fly this plane all over the place. And halfway through the year, a wing would be missing or something would be broken. And I'm all bummed out because I really liked this. So my mother would buy for me again. Look, Santa brought you another plane. And then I would play with that for another 6 months. And, you know, then that one would break. I think I got the same gift for like 4 years in a row because I was obsessed with it. But I would go with Mom to go to like McClory in downtown Yonkers, New York. There was a store there. It was that had been there for years. And she would say, okay, is this the plane that you want Santa to get you? And I would say yes. And she would put it in the shopping cart. And so I knew that it was coming, you know? So, I mean, for me, I guess the expectation of Christmas was a little bit different than most kids, you know?
Yeah, I can't remember if I thought about Santa or what. I do know that I didn't feel, we always got something. I don't know. So I don't remember that it was always like, wait till Christmas Day. Sometimes people would give us things along the time, like leading up to Christmas. And my mom didn't always make us wait. So sometimes we'd get to Christmas and there was nothing to actually open, but that doesn't mean we didn't get any gifts. It just meant that we didn't have any, like we weren't able to wait, and she didn't force us to wait. Someone gave you something 2 Sundays before Christmas, like you just opened it and then you got to play with it. So I feel like my Christmas and my Christmas memories weren't very strict, where like presents were coming and you weren't allowed to touch anything, or people were hiding presents or people were hiding things. I think a lot of times my mom would be like, okay, we're going to go Christmas shopping, right? Whether it's the week before or the week after or whatever, we were gonna get to go Christmas shopping, and that was a thing in itself. Yeah. And so maybe we had one or two things to open, but we knew Christmas shopping was coming, usually after the holiday, so that you were going to get everything on sale.
Like typically, I was always with my mother when we went shopping for gifts for all of the cousins that we had. So I already knew what they were going to get. It's just a matter of, I had to keep my mouth shut. And for the most part, I was pretty good about that. I learned a lot of life lessons at a very young age. You don't open your mouth. Don't speak unless you know you're spoken to. Don't talk out of your behind. And when someone says don't say anything, you don't say anything. You keep it to yourself.
Lessons. Yeah. Those are all really good lessons. Yeah, so, I think I'm not... I guess because I remember opening gifts as they came and not being forced to wait or being made to wait until Christmas Day, I'm actually hiding. People have been sending things for my kids, and there are no gifts underneath our tree. I probably should have, if I were fancy or better, I might have wrapped an empty box so that there were presents under the tree, like the illusion of presents under the tree. But I've just been hiding them because I am trying to make the kids wait until Christmas to open them.
Yeah.
And I can't handle being asked every single day if we can open the presents. So I'm just hiding all the presents as they arrive, like through Amazon or wherever they're coming from. I'm hiding them in a box in the basement.
Well, that's amazing though, because you can create those fake boxes, right, and wrap them up and do all that good stuff. And every time they pick up the box, Mom, there's nothing in here, and so that's because Santa hasn't gotten here yet. So when Santa gets here, the box magically fills up with whatever it was that you asked for, or what he's going to give you.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't have the extra brain power for that. I just can't. But what I did do this year that I've never done before.
Back up.
Oh, sorry. Is I made an Amazon list for my kids and shared it. Someone asked me what the kids wanted or needed or whatever. And so I made an Amazon list, and I probably should have shared it with more people in our family, but just this idea that I'm trying to minimize the amount of noisy cars that are coming into my house. Or
unnecessary gifts, right? Because sometimes people tend to like...
Especially, I mean, my in-laws are amazing, and we just went to visit them a couple weeks ago, and they bought the kids like 4 or 5 new toys, but Emery broke one of them before we got home. Like, it's done. I just threw it in the garbage yesterday. Like, it's done, and it's over. And so it was exciting. I think, and this is actually a real thing. I feel like as a parent, I know there are things that my kids want. I also know that there are things that they need. And so here's a list of those things, or here's some ideas that I have for what I know they need and are not going to break right away. Could you please get them something like this without being like a dick about it, right? Like, I'm not trying to say we have to have Jordans, right? Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole about gifting for my own kids, but I'm also trying to minimize the amount of stuff that's coming into my house that I know is only going to last a day.
Or drive you bananas.
Whether in interest, like the kids are only going to play with it for a day or two, or it's just going to fall apart because it's like a little toy that they said that they wanted, but they really don't want.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of pushback against parents in general. And then from grandparents, there's sort of this idea that I'm the grandma, I should be the one to buy them the like foolish things that, like, you buy them the stuff that they need, and I want to buy them the frivolous things. And I'm just like, yeah, but consumerism and hoarding, like, start throwing out all these words. And my house is a whole lot of toys, and I have a daycare, so I already have so much stuff. Like, it's really hard to get I think it's specifically grandparents.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get grandparents on board with what you're trying to accomplish in your house.
Well, the other thing is too, they look at you like, bitch, I've already raised you.
Yes.
Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do me, and you're just going to accept it. And if I give your son a piano, you're just going to deal with it. Get him a piano teacher and teach him how to use it.
We have gotten a keyboard. We've gotten a rocking horse that neighs, like you press a button and it makes all kind of galloping and neigh sound.
That's when you take the batteries out. That's when you take the batteries out and be like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work.
I would have had to cut off the thing's ear. I'm like, I can't. So anyway, that was a thing that is not brand new. It's just something that I did new this year, which was make a list on Amazon and share it out. So I would recommend that to other people. Although I have read some stories of some moms who've gone, or some parents who've gone way overboard. Either they're asking for things that are super, super expensive, or just really, really niche kind of things.
Yeah.
That make them seem like assholes. I'm not saying go to an extreme like that, but
my really son wants an iPad. Let me put that on the list and hope that someone would be...
I would never do that. But I did have ideas, like if you would like to get us some passes to a museum, or like something my brother-in-law got the kids last year. He got them the little passports, which is an annual subscription. You get a new box each month. It was really exciting. Lincoln got really excited about getting mail in the mail every month. Someone else got us a National Geographic subscription one year. So you get a new magazine in the month every month. Those kinds of things are cool and are ongoing and encourage I shouldn't say interaction, but encourage some time spent with parents and the kids, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's like a museum pass or an experience, that kind of thing, it encourages family experiences as opposed to just piling up things in the house. So that's what I'm trying to get people around us who want to give us things to give us. I'm really into, as I'm saying that, I'm really into consumables right now, and I'm trying to figure out how, like, where consumables and being green meet, right? Like where is it that I can, like, I'm not being wasteful and adding things to a landfill, but I'm also reusing things where I can. And I feel like a museum pass is a consumable, right? And is not bad.
And it's a learning experience.
And it's a learning experience. It's a family experience. It's a learning experience, all of those things.
But you can also do that with toys. Like there are toys that are geared for helping children with their development. And so
like the magnet tiles that I told you I've been getting everybody this year.
So, those are thoughtful gifts that allow your child's development to actually progress with minimal effort, right? Because they're already playing. They want to play with these toys and they're learning at the same time. So if you're making a list of toys like that, things that that you're going to get a double whammy out of. Mm-hmm. It's a toy, they can play with it, but they're learning. And that's the type of thing that you want to promote in your kid's life, right? Mm-hmm. Then I think that making a list is perfectly fine. And you can find a lot of these products anywhere, because you could even do a gift registry.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is on Amazon. Mm-hmm. They allow you to make lists. So it's not a cart where the things are like waiting for you to purchase them. But it's just a list, and then you can share it. You can just send an email you send the link to whatever, and you can add to it all year round, or like it can be a birthday list, or just like anytime you feel like you want to get my kids something, here's some things we've been talking about or looking at for the last year, or things that we're interested in. And this just makes me think, like, I would like to share right now a small handful of things that fall into these categories of things that you could buy kids that are not toys that are just going to clutter up the house, mm-hmm. or only be used once or twice and then be forgotten about. So it's a pretty short list. One is going to be an experience, right? Like a museum pass, even a day pass for the family, because especially museums can get pretty expensive. So whether you want to buy an expensive one, like aquariums are super expensive to go to, mm-hmm. $30, sometimes $40 per ticket. Like it's almost impossible to take your whole family. So aquarium tickets or local museum tickets. Or you could get them a pass so that they can go anytime they want. That's if you were interested in spending a couple $100s on the whole family. that kind of thing. The other thing are things like swim lessons or passes to the local kid gym, you know, like a Rascals or a My Gym, those kind of places that are geared for kids and typically cost $15 to $20 per ticket. If you bought a day pass for the whole family or a couple passes that you could take kids to, like that's a huge, you know, like every Saturday I'm trying to figure out what to do with these kids.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. Movie passes for the whole family to go see the next kid movie that's coming up. Like those kinds of things fall under like passes for me. There's also lessons, like something interesting that kids either are currently interested in or maybe might get interested in. Some gymnastics classes, and you don't have to buy the whole year, 2 or 3 classes, and then maybe they would be interested and then their parents take them the rest of the time. Gymnastics, swimming, soccer, singing, music, art. Like there's so many local places that cater to kids doing any of those things. If you did a quick Google search, you could find some in the area where the kid is that you're trying to treat.
You know, because a lot of parents utilize local services like the Y, right? The Y is a very popular place to bring your kids to do an array of different, a variety of different activities.
Get them a Y membership.
Get a Y membership or make a donation to the Y in their name. So, I mean, there's so many things that you can do.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So that's for experiences. And then some toys that I've been like toys/learning things that I've been super excited about lately are the magnet tiles. And the Magna tiles, which is the namesake of the like fancy ones, are super expensive, but there are lots of other options that are also pretty good. You can find them on Amazon or wherever, but they're just it's just an alternative to Legos. And there are a whole heap. Like I have maybe 10 different versions of building toys in my own office. There are so many different options, but these are magnetic tiles that allow little kids, like as young as 1 or 2, to make 2D things. I don't know what I'm trying to say, like flat. Or because they're magnetic, you can make 3D things. As they get older, they can actually make 3D castles or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I watched Emery play with them, and he just likes to link them up flat along the ground because he's not yet ready to make them 3D. But it's cool because you can give it to a child as young as 1 or 2, and a child as old as 6 to 10 is still going to love these kinds of things. I mean, grown-ups love Legos, so it will last.
Right, I do.
Yeah, see,
I grew up on those.
These will last a pretty long time.
Yeah.
So magnet tiles are really cool. Another thing that's pretty interesting for kids, especially kids my kids' age, young school age or toddlers, is some sort of tent situation. So like a teepee or an actual tent or something that will give them like a cozy cocooning sort of situation. It doesn't matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
Whether it's a triangle or a dome or whatever, but something that allows them and allows parents to give them like a pop-up, you know, like a pop-up space. And when we're done playing with this now, we can put it away and like reclaim our living room. But the idea that you can provide a cozy spot for them and you stick a bunch of pillows in it and they can read in there, you can add some lights to it or whatever. And it becomes like a cozy little hygge area for your kids. So like a tent of some sort is what I think is super exciting, and I've watched my kids are pretty excited in that sort of thing. And then the last thing I would say is, I mean, you can go with like board games and games, that sort of thing that will get families interacting. But the other thing that I'm super interested in and find that my kids, my boys, but just my age group of kids are super interested in is anything physical. So there are lots of things that you can find that are bouncy balls or bouncy hops, or there are these the like pogos. There's a new version of a pogo stick that's a little bit easier for younger kids to use. The piece that you stand on is a foam block as opposed to like the pointy pogo stick bottom.
Yeah.
So it's basically a foam block attached to a, like an exercise band You know those exercise bands?
Okay.
So it's a foam block attached to that. And so kids are able to sort of like jump around on that situation, but it gives them that physical jump around that they need.
To exhaust all
any
that
kind
energy.
Of swing.
Mm-hmm.
IKEA has really cool swings that you can just attach to a beam or something somewhere in your house. Anything that allows them a free range of motion, little kids are super excited about. So it's not, there are no batteries involved and there's not a lot of, like gadgets and gizmos. But some of these like super simple things, kids, I mean, my kid, I'm literally, I'm just thinking my kids have been throwing themselves and flipping over my couches for like the last 2 months. That's all they want to do is jump into the couch, flip upside down, jump over the back, and it drives me nuts. So I'm trying to figure out how to get them that experience, that way of moving their body off of my couch.
Beanbags.
Beanbag. Yeah, we have a beanbag. We have an extra mattress that I let them jump on. I have blocks that I let them stand on. They also have on Amazon these little not foam, they're rubber. They're kind of like an exercise ball, like a medicine ball, but that's flat on the bottom. So you could put them out and they could be like little stepping pebbles. So they encourage balance. They also have little like prickly things so that it feels interesting on the bottom of your foot. You put your hands on it. You can sit on it. You can stand on it. Like anything that makes kids have this sort of sensory thing is what they're looking for when they're like running super fast across your living room, throwing themselves into your couch and jumping all over your couch, or like hiding under the blankets. They're looking for these dark spaces and these experiences that they're not used to because they're kids.
Yeah.
And we think is stupid because we're adults and we've done it 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. No, but
my kids right now are super obsessed with the dark. So, and if you got your kid a flashlight and some like cardboard cutouts or some like little things that they could flash the light through and put little figures on the wall in shadows, they would be obsessed with it right now if they're in the toddler or, early school age. They're obsessed with turning off all the lights in my house right now, and it's driving me nuts. And then the last thing is a camera. Right now, my 2 and 4-year-old and all the kids in my program, I have so many pictures on my phone right now because they just take my phone and they want to take videos. And it was actually super funny because my son said, "Oh, let's do an episode," or like let's record a show. And so it was just a real meta moment for me. Mm-hmm. Like he hears me every week that I'm going to record my show, and now he's got his hands on my camera and they're doing like action and they record shows. So about all these crazy like little 1 and 2 second videos or 5-minute videos on my cell phone right now because they're super obsessed with it. And there's some cool kid cameras that are on Amazon right now that are durable. So if they drop it on the floor, it sort of bounces and it doesn't break, and it's easy for them to hold, and they're colorful and all of that stuff. You can get a cool $30 or $40. Like, I'm not saying go out and buy a Canon camera for your kid, but you could get like a $30, $40 kid camera and then save yourself a little bit of memory on your cell phone.
Absolutely. Because let me tell you, that memory goes quick.
It goes fast. So I hope that those were that's my short list that I am working with right now as I think about things that I want to get my kids and that I'm getting getting as gifts for other people. Oh, wait. One more. The last one I'm going to say is I didn't realize how excited kids get to look at pictures of themselves or people that they know and like and love. And so if you could you could go fancy and do like a Shutterfly album, but you could also just print off a bunch of pictures and put it in a like $2 or $3 album that you get from the dollar store. But something that you give them that has pictures of themselves and their family. And then I would say anybody in your extended like circle that you want to make sure your kids Like, I have lots of friends that don't live close to us, and I really wish that my kids like them the way that I like them. And the only way you can do that is make sure you're doing FaceTime with them, but also that you're showing pictures of them. So if you could give them, your kids, an album, a photo album, a small one, of people who are important in their lives, I think you would be surprised at how excited they are to see not only their face, but people that they can recognize. And like the kids here are like, oh, we were at the park and this is when my mom made the flowers and she gave it to everybody. Like, they tell a whole story. So it promotes a whole lot of learning and developmental skills that are really helpful for kids at a young age. And it's also super fun for them to just see themselves and talk about themselves and the people they love. So that's my last thing. So that's my short list of ideas for things that you can get for kids on your list this year.
Yeah, and I think that for the most part, I think we've given everyone a very well-rounded idea of what the holidays can be like, and what really good, excellent suggestions on what you can do. Right, there's so many options out there.
Yes. So I think we should end. I think we should wrap up, and that we should end. I do have a Mom So Hard tip for the week.
All right, well, shoot.
Okay, so besides that short list of things for the holiday, like gift giving for the holiday, my Mom So Hard tip for the week is parenting. I mean, I guess it's all parenting. I find that when I'm doing laundry, when I'm thinking about my kids' clothes, sometimes I put out the same clothes for them every week, right? Like if you get into the habit of setting up your kids' clothes every week, I'm always doing the same thing. Wait, I'm confused. Let's start again. Let me start by saying, I think you should take 5 minutes at some point during the week and pick out all the clothes for your kids. And I know that some people's kids are really a part of the getting dressed process, but mine aren't. My kids will put on anything that I tell them to, or they'll make 1 or 2 suggestions. So 1 day a week, I set aside, I have a shoe organizer, and I put all of their clothes in for the whole week. What I realized in the last couple weeks is that I sometimes wait to do laundry, and then I'm taking out the clean clothes from the laundry and putting them in the thing. And then clothes are in your drawers that never get worn. You know what I mean? And so you're overwearing some clothes and you're totally ignoring the other clothes. So what I've started doing in the last couple of weeks is, before I put away the clean clothes, I take out the clothes for the week, which means that I'm not necessarily able to use the clothes that they wore last week, which gives them a break. And then I go into the reserves and pull out the clothes from the drawer and fill all the little it's a shoe organizer. So all the little cubbies, I fill them. And then once that is done, then I put the clean clothes back into the drawer. And I have found that just gives all of the clothes sort of an even wear, and allows me to not feel like we're, one, that we're overusing the clothes, and 2, that we don't have enough clothes. Because I think that's what I always think. Oh, we don't have enough clothes, because I'm thinking about clothes that are dirty, forgetting that there's a whole drawer full of clothes that you always don't pick. And I guess the part B of this is, if you find that you're really not picking some clothes over and over again, just take them out of the rotation. Put them in a bag, start a basket in the kids' room or in whatever room, and start tossing things that you really don't want to use, because they're taking up space and cluttering your life, and you'll find that you're probably washing them over and over again, and they're not getting worn.
Yeah, or someone else can use them. You can donate them,
and someone else can use them. But I find sometimes I take out a shirt either for the kids or for me, and I go, oh, I should wear this, and I put it on. I'm like, I don't want to, but it doesn't go back in the drawer. It always ends up somewhere, which means it then ends up in the laundry, and it wasn't dirty. And you're just washing over things that you really don't want.
Yeah. So, but not only that, but doing what you're doing and going through your reserves before you fill in those cubbies allows you to take an inventory of what you currently have, right? And find out, okay, if this is not fitting, we can't use this anymore. But it was in there, and I would have never thought to look in there for things that I didn't need, that are no longer needed, and I can replace them. Then the next time you're out shopping, okay, well, I remember I don't have, or something. I need pants or I need X amount of t-shirts because these no longer fit.
Right.
Right.
So I encourage people, especially if you're on holiday this week, I say, or this coming week, don't make too long of a list of things that you think you can accomplish in this holiday week, because I think sometimes we overestimate what can be done or really what we have time to do, especially given that you're supposed to be taking a break. But something you can do pretty quickly is go through the clothing, your kids' clothes and your clothes, and make sure that you have taken out stuff that you guys really aren't using, because it really burns me to see that I am spending time washing and folding clothes that we don't wear. It's like a waste of time, effort, and money. So I do encourage people to take a half a day or even an hour or so to just go through clothing so that you start the year fresh. Yeah, I'm going to end with that.
All right. Well, all the way from the studios at the Dorman family home and here at the Digital Stream Radio Studios, it has been our pleasure to do this episode for you all. And I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and all that good stuff. Candace?
Yeah, I say the same. Thanks so much for making this happen, Tommy. And a Merry Christmas to everyone. And we will see you in a couple weeks. We're probably going to take a break next week. I should say that. We'll probably take a break. Or maybe we won't. Who knows? It'll be a bonus episode if we are here. But we'll definitely be back in the new year with some exciting things that are coming up. I won't spoil them now, but we have some exciting guests coming up in the new year. So check us out on all the places where you get your podcasts. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.